Start recording. Okay, so hello, everybody, and thank you for attending tonight's session on the Social Science Internship Program. There we go. My name is Colton. Some of you may have had contact with me in the past. I'm the Experiential Learning Coordinator for the Social Science and Dan Management Internship Programs. And I'm joined here tonight by my associate, Daniel Restrepo. He is the employer relations developer for the program, and he's the one responsible for sourcing all the fantastic opportunities that we make available to our students. Just before we begin, I just have a quick sort of activity here just to get our attention and just to kind of start things off in an informal way. So I'm going to launch a poll. And we're simply wondering who is here tonight. So feel free to answer the poll however you like. Well, ideally, you'll indicate your area of study. So you should be able to access this now. I see some answers coming in. You'll see the 9 different social science departments indicated. And yeah, if you could just indicate which faculty you're from, that'd be fantastic. So far, it's looking like exactly 50% of you are from Dan Management. We have about 9% from economics, psychology coming in hot here with 27%, 4% geography, some political science, some sociology. Looks like there's no one from anthropology yet, no one from history. Looks like psychology's borrowing or taking away from Dan Management a little bit. Just give any folks who might want to respond to the poll a second to do so. All right, so it looks like most of you are here from Dan Management. That's perfectly fine. The information that you'll hear here tonight, it's there's a lot of overlap with the Dan Management program, so no worries about attending tonight instead of one of our Dan Management specific programs. So thank you for that. Just a little agenda here tonight for what we'll cover. So during this information session, we'll go over the program overview and the benefits of pursuing the program. We'll talk a little bit about the application process and what the timeline looks like. We'll give you a chance to apply to the program if you so choose, and we'll talk a little bit about how to apply. And it's at that point that, as I mentioned before we started recording, I will stop the recording. And those of you who are in attendance here tonight, you will be able to pose your questions, ideally through the chat, to our fantastic panelists here tonight. And I believe all 4 of them are here. So yeah, when the time comes, I'll ask them to introduce themselves and we'll get that process underway. So what is the internship program? What does it look like? Well, in the social science faculty, we have the aptly named social science internship program. And this program is really divided into 2 halves. We have the long-term half and we have the short-term half. So we're really, really keen on having students pursue the longer-term option, but there are a few more eligibility criteria that goes into this module. So the long-term option is available to all social science students beginning in their 3rd year of a 4-year program. And the opportunities that you will participate in as part of this module generally run between 8 and 16 months. Typically, they run 8, 12, or 16 months, but we have a couple that might run 13, a couple that might run 14, and sort of anything in between. Typically, these placements begin between May and September of your 3rd year. So if you are in your 3rd year currently and interested in a longer term option, which we'll have more about the benefits on that in a moment, you're eligible to apply now. And you'll be looking for positions that will start between this coming May and next September. And depending on how long they are, they will last anywhere from 8 to 16 months. All of these placements, regardless of how long they are worth 1 elective credit at the 3,000 level. So if you have any elective credits left to complete as part of your degree program, this internship program can count toward those requirements. You're not able to substitute that credit in for any of the required core components. So if, for example, you're a history student and you're asked to do 2 credits at the 3000 level from a selection of 12 different courses, that component has to be from those 12 courses. It can't be substituted in. So it has to be an elective credit. And the sort of drawback potentially of the longer term option is that it delays graduation by 1 year. So where you would typically graduate in 2025, say, you would have that graduation delayed until 2026. I can appreciate and I can understand that this could be a cause of anxiety or tension for some folks. I myself took 5 years to complete my undergraduate program, not because I pursued an internship program, but because I switched universities and programs partway through. It can be a bit anxiety inducing, but you're still very early on in your professional and academic development. And the fact that graduation is delayed by a year is offset by the fact that you will be earning a salary and a full-time job, which is supportive of your professional development. So sort of a pros and cons weight that you have to make there, but it's a really, really good option to pursue if you don't mind the possibility of extending graduation by that extra year. We also have the short-term option, which is exactly how it sounds. It's a shorter module, and students are eligible to apply for this module beginning in their 2nd year, and they can apply again in their 3rd and their 4th. These opportunities run considerably shorter than the long-term option. They generally range from anywhere from 10 weeks to 4 months. And most of these placements actually fall in the summer. In fact, an overwhelming majority of these placements fall in the summer. But Daniel and I are working toward shifting this balance a little bit. We currently have a few students out this fall on short-term placements. And we've had a few students in the past pursue opportunities in the winter. So these are options, but we ask that students pursuing these options have completed at least 10 credits of their internship by the time they start. So to be eligible for a placement this January, we want students to have completed at least 10 credits. So if you're in your 2nd year, you're probably not eligible for those options yet, but you would be able to pursue a summer opportunity. And because these opportunities are roughly half the length or half the duration of the long-term option, they're also worth half the credit. So these ones are weighted at a half elective credit, social science 3000 level elective credit. And just a note here at the bottom, all students are eligible to take up to well, you can take as many internships as you like, but you're eligible to count up to 1.5 credits of your degree toward internships. So if you complete a long-term placement and a short-term placement, there's your 1.5. You can complete 2 short-term internships. You unfortunately are not able to complete a 3rd and have that count because course codes are only able to appear on student records twice. So if you pursue the multiple short-term option, you'll unfortunately max out at a full credit. So yeah, if you want to maximize your potential here, we recommend doing a short-term and a long-term placement. And a nice special slide here on why you should consider, very strongly consider doing a long-term placement. So again, there's this kind of anxiety around delaying graduation by an additional year, but there are a lot of benefits that come with that on top of more money and more experience. So in a longer-term placement, you'll learn more extensively about your particular role, and you'll actually get to see projects through from start to finish. And a sort of an addendum to this piece here is generally when we start out in a new role, there is a probationary period, and this can last anywhere from a number of weeks to a number of months. So when you're out on a short-term placement, it's entirely possible that the majority of your placement will actually fall in that probationary period. If you're on a long-term placement, conversely, you'll actually have more time outside of that probationary period, more opportunities to get creative and sort of develop your work style, develop deeper impact experiences, get involved with more projects, help you to further hone your skill set and just generally adapt to workplace culture in ways that aren't necessarily facilitated by the shorter term option. By completing a long-term placement, you'll also demonstrate commitment to the role. So it's very common nowadays, and I've experienced this myself, to bounce around from job to job. You start out in role A, you're there a few months. There are things about it you like, there are things about it you don't. Maybe you transition onto role B, or maybe you go to a different company, and you're getting lots of different experience. But again, you're sort of bouncing around a lot, which isn't a bad thing. There's certainly value in getting a breadth of experience. But by sticking with a single employer for a longer period, you'll get that depth of experience, and you'll set yourself apart from your colleagues, peers, and friends as a dedicated employee. You'll demonstrate that you are able to stay within a single industry or with a single employer, and things like that. Students on longer term placements have the possibility of lucking into part-time or even full-time work once their internship is over. And this makes an intuitive kind of sense, because the more time, energy, and resources that an employer devotes to you as an intern, the more likely they will be to try and keep you, because it's more efficient to transition an intern into a regular role than it is to hire and train an entirely new person. So there's that added benefit. And you will actually set yourself up for future success in a way that the short-term placement might not. I imagine I speak for a lot of us here when I say that applying to entry-level roles can be a little bit boggling. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to apply to a role and think, why do I need X years of experience for this entry-level position? Why do I need 2 years of customer experience for an entry-level job at Chapters, for example? It's just unfortunately the reality we live in. It's a very competitive job market. And so by completing the longer term option, when you go to apply for future positions, you will actually have that year or more of experience behind you to pull from, and you'll be able to check that box off of the employer's checklist. So there are lots of benefits to the long-term placement. We hope that you'll strongly consider this option. I'll add here that folks who are eligible to apply for the long-term option, when you go through that application process, you can also indicate your interest in the short-term option as well. So, even if you're not necessarily thinking about doing long-term, you'd much rather focus on the short-term, I would still absolutely recommend applying for the long-term option if you're eligible, because there's every possibility that you'll come across an 8-month or a 12-month or a 16-month position that you really love the sound of, and it just really speaks to you. So there's a lot of value in the long-term option. Just a little bit about internship outcomes. So what you'll get out of the program generally. We have sort of 4 categories that we sort of think about the internship in. So the first one is building career development know-how. So by enrolling in the program, by submitting your application of interest to us, it adds you to our internship portal on Western Connect, which we'll get to in a moment. But it also adds you to our list of students that we then pitch certain courses to, or not courses, rather, workshops, I should say, and different things like that. We make different resources available, and we help you sort of develop your own brand as an employee. We help you to articulate your skills, as it says in the second section there, your strengths and your interests, using all of that to help you prototype a career path. So identifying what you're really good at, helping you to articulate all of that, and helping you to develop a roadmap forward. And then we actually help you propel yourself forward. So that's what we sort of offer broadly in this program. just a little bit sort of more in depth, sort of reiterating some of the things, what you'll actually get out of the program. So we talked a little bit here just about the career development, the guidance, and the resources. You'll have access to myself as the experiential learning coordinator. I coordinate a lot with Daniel, trying to match students with employers. And you'll also have access to our career coaches who are responsible for the social science students, as well as just the career coaching team and the career education team generally. We have I believe five fantastic career coaches. They love sitting down with students and talking about everything career related. So becoming a part of the internship program gives you access to exclusive workshops and things like that they'll be putting on. As I mentioned, you get the credit. The long-term option is the 1.0 full credit. The short-term option is a half credit. You get access to our internship portal on Western Connect. So there are certainly plenty of opportunities that you can apply to through Western Connect that aren't a part of our internship program. You're free to do so, but you may not be able to apply those positions directly to the internship program itself. And a number of those employment opportunities are for recent grads or for folks who are going to be graduating. So by getting access to our internship portal, you get access to employers sourcing roles for students who are currently a part of a degree module and program in social science. And you get our feedback and support. So primarily my role in the student-facing coordinator role here is I sit down with you and help you through anything and everything related to the job hunting process, developing cover letters and resumes, helping you prepare for interviews, helping you to understand job postings, everything like that and more. So that's what we sort of offer you at sort of a higher level. And something that we focus on a lot in our workshops and in our messaging to you is an emphasis on soft skills. So this is relatively old data. It's about 7 years old now, but it's still a functional overview of what employers are actually looking for rather. So whether it's an employer looking for students in management organizational studies, or if it's someone looking for someone who might be more geared toward archival work, or if there's an educational component or whatever the job is, overwhelmingly we see an emphasis from employers on soft skills. So the technical skills are certainly important. If you're going into an accounting or finance role, for example, having a knowledge of Excel and other sorts of software like that is certainly useful. But so is collaboration and teamwork, your ability to work with others and solve problems, general communication, relationship building. Not here are adaptability, emotional intelligence, empathy. Like these are a lot of skills that go a long way and they're very transferable. So if you are a psychology student, for example, once you have access to our portal, you are free to apply to any and all jobs that interest you. They don't necessarily have to be psychology focused. There might be a role that has a really interesting marketing component, or maybe there's an archival component that really interests you for whatever reason. You're totally welcome and encouraged to apply to those roles. And as part of our coordination and part of my support with you, I will help you to leverage your soft skills and your strengths in ways that benefit you and make you a viable candidate to employers. And then the burning question on everyone's mind, how much am I going to make doing this? So it really varies from role to role. But on average, the annual salary for these roles, it's not too shabby. So for roles that would be more typically geared toward management and organizational studies, we're looking at an average of just under 42,000 a year. And for social science, again, per year, it sort of hovers around the 39,000, 40,000 mark. So depending on the length of your internship, this will vary, of course. Again, these are annual figures. So if you're working a third of a year, you could expect a third of this on average. If you're working half a year, If you're working more than a year, you can sort of do the math on your own. And yeah, it really varies. So just something to keep in mind. And just a little bit about our opportunities. So the one sort of benefit, I would say, to this post-COVID world that we find ourselves in, or a benefit to the pandemic that sort of served our purposes, is now we have a number of opportunities across a variety of delivery methods. So whereas pre-COVID, the majority of well, anything really would have been in person. Increasingly, we are seeing a number of opportunities that function on hybrid models and even remote work. So if you're really not keen about working in person, or if you want to have maybe a few days in the office, a few days out, there are a variety of opportunities which might sort of allow you to explore that kind of freedom. Roughly a third of all of our roles fall within London here. Another third generally fall in the Greater Toronto area, and about another third fall in the rest of Canada. We do have a few students who have and are working abroad. Generally, these opportunities are much fewer and farther between, but they do exist. And the roles just come from a variety of sectors, so private, government, nonprofits, and startups, anything and everything. Maybe not everything, but certainly a wide variety of different sectors. And here listed we have a lot of MOS industries, but not listed here are archival and curation work, research work, some educational work. Like there's a lot of opportunity for everyone in our portal. And competition and exclusivity varies from role to role. Some of our roles will get dozens of applications. Some of the roles might only get a few. So again, I really want to encourage you, once you've applied to the program and you get access to our portal, just have a look around, take some dedicated time out of your day, maybe 30 minutes every other day, and just have a look on Western Connect, look at what the job opportunities are, and just get creative with your approach to the job search, because there's a lot of different stuff there. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff there that I think they're excellent opportunities, and you might just be the perfect fit. So now a little bit more about the nitty-gritty on the program. So as with anything, there are eligibility criteria. So to be eligible for our program, regardless of if it's the long or the short-term option, we require that all students have a minimum 70 average in their previous 5.0 courses. I feel confident in saying that for the majority of you, this previous 5.0 will be your previous year, but some of you may have summer courses, and if that's the case, those will also be taken into account. We require that you be a main campus student declared in social science major, honor specialization, or specialization. If you happen to be a student who is with one of our affiliates, King's, Huron, Brusha, you are still eligible for the DAN management component. So that's the DAN management component is sort of the DAN management equivalent of our long-term social science option. It's a separate sort of nuanced version of that program. But if you are at our affiliates, you're still eligible for that option. It just won't be me who coordinates your internship. It'll be one of my colleagues at the affiliates. That might be a bit confusing, but there'll be an email address at the end of this presentation that you can email for more information. We ask that students have completed 2 years of study. So for the long-term option, you would have finished 2 years of study. You would be in year 3 of a 4-year program. To be eligible for the short-term option, we would ask that you have completed 1 year of study and that you be in year 2 of a 4-year program. And we also ask that all students be in good standing at Western, but if you satisfy the other 3 eligibility criteria, you will by default be in good standing at Western, pending a few outliers here and there. Some things to consider. So again, with the long-term option, you will be part of the graduating class of spring 2026 because your degree would be extended by 1 year. If you complete a short-term internship in the fall or in the winter, it does have the potential to extend your degree program by a semester, because while students are out on their internship, we really want them to be prioritizing the internship itself. This isn't to say that you can't take an additional class alongside your internship placement, but doing so requires that you receive special permission to do so. And these special permissions are generally limited to an additional half credit per 4 months of the work term. So if you're doing a short-term fall placement and you want to take courses, you'll likely be limited to an additional half credit, which could put you a little bit behind. And to delay graduation by at least a semester. So something to be aware of. Student services. So while students are actually out on their internship, you are not charged for tuition fees. You will only be responsible for paying the program fee, which is currently set at $500 per 4 months of a work term. So if you are completing a short-term 4-month option, it's 500 flat. If you're doing an 8-month, it will be 500 in that first term, let's say May, and then September rolls around, you would pay another 500. And for every 4-month increment, it just increases by another 500. But again, you're not paying tuition. You're also earning a salary while you're out on these placements. So it sort of offsets those costs. In addition to tuition costs for your future years at university. So there's no ancillary fees charged aside from the USC Health and Dental, which can be opted out of provided that additional health coverage is provided. And all access to clubs, the rec center, and the bus pass is suspended for the duration of the internship. And scholarships and OSAP recipients. So if you have an entry scholarship or any other scholarship, you are permitted to defer those continuing scholarships by 1 year. And OSAP recipients, you won't be eligible to pull OSAP while you're out on your placement, but you will be able to apply for and maintain interest-free status while you're out on your placement. So while you're doing your work term, you will still be categorized by Western as a full-time student, and you won't be required to pay back your OSAP loans until you actually complete your degree. So a to-do list for you. So the first thing to do is to submit an application on Western Connect. The deadline to do so is October 19th, 2023. Once you do that, if you get approved, we then ask that students complete a preparation workshop and assignment. Basically, this assignment is we ask you to write us a cover letter and a resume. That'll be due November 13th. We don't have the workshop dates set yet, but those will be coming at a later date. This isn't going to be graded per se. It'll just be assessed in order for us to provide you with feedback on how you can improve your professional documentation. So, giving you tips and tricks on things like reducing word count so you can fit things neatly into as few pages as possible, how to highlight those strengths and talents and all of that. Just how to present yourself as the best possible candidate. So once you're approved, just to back up a little bit, you'll be granted access to our internship portal on Western Connect, and you'll be free to apply to any and all jobs as you see fit for the duration of your access to the portal. Active recruitment period typically peaks in the winter. This is for positions with a May start. Positions that would be starting in the winter will peak a little bit sooner. And while you're in that sort of active recruitment period, there will be a number of workshops on interview skills, networking, and things like that you will be able to attend. Just a note at the bottom here that all international students, once you are admitted to the portal, we ask that you apply for your co-op work permit as soon as possible. For more information on this process, you can actually reach out to the folks in the International and Exchange Student Center. They'll have all the relevant information for you on how to go about that process, and we will be able to provide you with a letter of support for that document. But we ask that you do that as soon as possible, just to avoid any delays. So once all this has happened, you land a job, you will attend a pre-departure session. So just a brief session sort of outlining your rights as an employee and just a number of other things that you should be aware of as an employee at a professional institution. We will ask that you sign an internship agreement, and that you pay the associated internship fee. Students who do not pay this fee will not receive the internship credit. And if you do not execute on the deliverables of the internship agreement, which is to say the deliverables of the program, which includes, as you see there, a midpoint reflection call and not featured there is a final assignment and self-assessment. If you don't execute on these deliverables, you also will not receive the internship credit. So sign the internship agreement, pay the fee, and then you can start working and earning experiences. We'll have a midpoint reflection call, which is super low stakes, just to check in with me to see how things are going. And then at the end of your placement, you'll complete a final reflection piece, and you will return to your classes by no later than September of 2026, depending on how long your placement is. How to apply. So this is Western Connect. If there's anyone here who is not familiar with Western Connect, I recommend when you get the chance to log into connect@uwo.ca. Your login credentials are the same as for OWL and for anything else that you would access through Western. On the left-hand side here, you should see Internship Co-op Home. On the right-hand side, you can apply to a program. We also have a big button right on the dashboard as soon as you log in that says click here to apply to an internship program or something like that. If you click on that, it'll take you right to this page. Click apply to a program. And then you'll see something like this. Just a note for all of you interested in applying to the long-term social science option, you can indicate interest in the short-term option as well. So we recommend that even if you're more keen on the short-term option, if you're still eligible for the long-term option, absolutely fill out the longer-term application. They'll be considered for both programs. And this is a very low-stakes application as well. It's more of a statement of interest. So don't feel stressed that you have to have a professional document ready or anything like that. With that in mind, I'll just pause here to allow any of you still with us to scan this QR code. It will take you right to the student login page on Western Connect. Again, you can log in with your student username and password, click on the big click here button, and then you apply to a program. When you click apply to a program, a list will pop up. The social science options are right at the very bottom, so feel free to just scroll all the way down. You just have to select the desired program and fill out the required fields and then submit. We'll assess on our end, and within, well, hopefully sooner rather than later, you'll have news on your application. So I'll just hang out here for a couple more seconds. There's some last minute scanners. Okay. And just lastly here, so we have a number of opportunities that are sourced for students that we make available through the internship portal, but we encourage and recommend that you be looking elsewhere for opportunities as well, because sometimes we miss opportunities, or sometimes employers don't reach out to us, or we don't think to reach out to them. So there might be a really, really great opportunity on Indeed or on an employer job board, which is really, really great. So if you apply to these opportunities and you want to see if it'll count for credit toward the internship program, you can use what's known as our direct match process, available through the Arranging Your Own Internship tab on our websites. There's a quick form that you'll fill out to give us some information. We'll complete a brief assessment, reach out to the employer, and assuming that everything lines up, we'll be able to get you on your way for credit with that opportunity. So just finally here, before I end the recording and we move on to our panel, if you have any questions, feel free to email us or more specifically at this address. So socsci or socscintern@uwo.ca. I'm generally monitoring this email address daily. So any questions that come through, feel free to fire them my way. And yeah, we'll see if we can get you into the program and get you on your way for credit. So now that we're at the end of the internship presentation, I'll take this opportunity to thank you for listening to me and thanking you at home who may be watching this later. We hope to receive your application soon. I can figure